Welcome back to another trade recap video. Today I'm going to be going over the trade that I took on Alibaba. It's Friday, June 17th. I actually missed a pretty solid opportunity on Tesla, but it happens. And then I waited for a nice setup on Baba, and I took it for the bear flag, new low of day for a nice scalp. And I'm going to wait till the end of the video to show the P&L, but as far as some key points that I want to go over, today proves that I can trade other stocks besides Tesla. I really like trading Tesla. A pattern is a pattern. You know, price action is price action. So I can trade other stocks. I prefer to trade Tesla right now. While it's obviously very volatile, there's a lot of opportunities. It's nice to trade options on it. But of course, when other stocks set up, I can trade them as well. And as far as missed trades, it happens. It's not a big deal. I know a lot of people freak out and they overthink when they miss stuff. I miss stuff all the time, but I just try not to get FOMO. I realize that the market's still open. Just because I missed an opportunity doesn't mean I need to panic. It happens. We're all human. It's hard to be perfect. When you're watching numerous stocks at the same time, things are going to be moving very fast and you can't get everything. As time goes on and you get more experience, you realize that it's just a part of the game. If you miss something, it's not that big of a deal. It's better to let something go by or miss it than get FOMO and chase it long or chase it short and take a loss. If it continues to trend in that direction, whether it be up or down, it will possibly set up again. So just patiently wait for that. And if it doesn't set up, then it's a no trade. And then the last key point is that it's not about making thousands of dollars per day. So in this video, I make money, but it's not a lot of money. And I feel like when it comes to the market and social media, people can kind of put on the image that if you're not making thousands per day, you're a failed trader. Even $100 to $200 a day is fantastic. Really think about what's going on. We're trading from the comfort of our home. Being able to make money at home is fantastic, no matter how much it is. So now let's take a look at my newsletter watch list today. I was looking at Tesla, Alibaba, AMD, and Nvidia. This is my newsletter watch list. This is everything that I'm posting on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open each day. I do a quick analysis of the overall market, the SPY and the Qs, if there's any major market news that day, all the stocks that I think are worth watching, if there's any news tied to them, and all the levels that I think are in play. This is my game plan and everything that's going on in my head each trading day. To the left, this is exactly what I post on my private Twitter. I add the newsletter, I take a screenshot of the charts, green line to the upside being long, red line to the downside being short, and then I make sure to highlight those two levels above. If you're interested in getting access to this, there's going to be a link in the description below. Now let's go over the technicals and the why. So to the left, this is going to be the daily chart of the SPY coming into this morning. So I said that another weekday yesterday closed below 370.59, which was the prior daily low. Still a weak market. Holds up off the open and can bounce if clears pre-market high and prior day high at 370.94. Has room to 376, 378. More downside below pre-market low and prior day low at 364.08. Has room down to 360, 356. And now the Qs. So I said a weekday yesterday and closed below that 273.34, which was prior daily low. Market's still weak. Bulls hold up off the open, then clears pre-market high and prior day high at 276.06. Can bounce to 280, 282. Below pre-market low and prior day low at 269.28. The downside move can continue, has room to 265, 262. Now let's go over Alibaba because that's the stock that I ended up trading. So it had some news that its affiliate Ant Group applies to set up financial holding company. Got a really big gap up on that news. It was showing a lot of strength in pre-market. So I said that if it holds up off the open and it clears pre-market high, it has room to 118, 122. The 200 SMA was at 124.40, so that should be major resistance. If it fails to move higher off the open, then starts to roll over and trend lower, it has room down to 198. Now let's go over my missed trade on Tesla, and I'm kind of disappointed at this because I feel like this is a bread and butter setup, but this just shows sometimes that as traders, we overthink. So what happened with Tesla? Had the push off the open, held VWAP and the 9 EMA, the two indicators that I like to look at, had a couple red candles in a row, but never got below that VWAP or the 9 EMA, never stayed below it, and then eventually back above them, started to clear some of this price action to the left, made a new high of day with a technical level above, pre-market high. Normally this is a trade that I would take, but I was totally overthinking and I missed it. And it's unfortunate because once it broke pre-market high, had really nice follow through, and that would have been an awesome trade. And one way that I deal with stuff like this is just realizing that it's a part of the game. We're human. This is not easy to do. Trading is ridiculously hard, so I'm not going to be able to catch every single setup. The one thing I want to make sure not to do is if I miss it, I don't want to feel FOMO and chase it, because if I do that, a lot of times that's where it can instantly pull back on me and then I take a quick loss. So just making sure to be very mindful about how I feel. Don't let those emotions start to control me, kind of take over, and then I make bad decisions, because every time I've done that, it turns out to be a bad thing. Now let's break down what happened with BABA on the intraday. So obviously had that really big gap up. We are in a bit of a weak market, so sometimes those big gap ups can get sold. But rather than having a bias, I just want the price action to tell me what it's going to do. And off the open, look at this huge move lower. So it could barely even hold that initial move off the open. And then it started to consolidate under the VWAP, under the 9 EMA, big move lower, started to go sideways, a bit of a bear flag, and then eventually makes a new low of day. And this is where I took it short right around 108, got a very nice move in my favor, and took quick profits. Now, I'm a big fan of going in the direction of the gap, kind of waiting for things to set up to the upside, or if there is a gap to the downside, waiting for things to play out to the downside. I try not to go against those gaps, but being that this was such a big gap up and it had such strong selling pressure to the downside off the open, I didn't take the trade really quick off the open. I let about 15 minutes go by, so I feel like a very clear direction was chosen. And then when it made that new low on elevated volume, I felt like that was a high probability trade. Now getting into the actual trade, so clearly had that sell-off off the open. It's consolidating under VWAP and the 9 EMA. I want to anticipate that new low of day. I ended up taking shares because a lot of the options were a little weird off the open because it's quad witching. I just felt more comfortable going shares. So I ended up going short as it showed some weakness towards the lows. And I ended up getting short at 108.09. So it very quickly broke 108, made a new low of day, kind of flushed that 107. When I get a quick move like that, I'm always just going to take profits. So I ended up getting out of the full position, and I got out at 106.83. So now to go check out the P&L, ended up being a nice one and done day. I did not make thousands of dollars, but to make $631.38 that quick off the open, especially on a Friday, that's still a great green day. I will gladly take $631 for 20 minutes of work every single day of the week. So that was the trade recap. I appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just want to talk about a couple cool things that I have to offer. The first is going to be my newsletter watch list. This is exactly what I post on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open every single day. I do a quick analysis of the overall market, the SPY and the Qs, if there's any major market news that day, and then all the stocks I'm interested in watching. It's usually 4 or 5, if there's any major news tied to them, and all the levels that I think are in play. To the left, this is exactly what I'm posting on my private Twitter. I make sure to add that newsletter. I take a screenshot of the charts, green line to the upside being long, red line to the downside being short, and I make sure to highlight those 2 levels above. This is everything that's going on in my mind and my game plan going into each market open. Also, I make sure to add a little mental note because every day is slightly different, and here's an example of that. And if you want something that's a little bit less of a commitment, I do offer a live one-on-one call for 1 hour. This is where you can ask me questions about my journey, go over setups specifically, everything that I've gone through as a trader. Whether you're beginner or advanced, this is a great way to connect with me. So if you're interested in my private Twitter or the one-on-one live call, feel free to go to callmattdiamond.com or check out the links in the description below.